It's interesting to notice in the New Testament that Jesus practiced solitude before every major decision that he made in his life. So when he experienced his calling, he'd been baptized and God said to him, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." And then immediately Jesus went into the wilderness. He went into 40 days of solitude and silence to wrestle with the finer nuances of his calling. And that was a very hard period of solitude for him. But it was solitude. It was being utterly alone with God, with God's calling, wrestling with Satan a little bit or a lot. But he emerged from that place ready to answer God's call upon his life. Before he chose his disciples, it says that he went up to the mountain. Solitary place is what it's called. And he prayed all night before he made that all-important decision about who he would invite to accompany him in his ministry journey. And then, of course, before he went to the cross, we know that he got alone with God in Gethsemane. The disciples were with him for a little while, but finally Jesus entered into utter aloneness to wrestle with God about whether or not he really had to go to the cross or not. And he and God wrestled it down to the mat. And then Jesus emerged from his time in solitude and he went to the cross and he knew what he was called to do and he did it. And so solitude is a very, very important part of Jesus' rhythm and his faithfulness to God and his faithfulness to calling. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because we think of Jesus as being perfectly connected with the Father, and yet he still really needed time alone, time when the rest of all the stimulation, the noise, life in the company of people went away, and he was one-on-one with God. And so Jesus is an excellent example for us of how important solitude is. And actually all the great ones of our faith, Elijah, Abraham, Moses, Paul, all of them had significant experiences in solitude as a precursor actually to what it is that they did for God on the earth. So that should give us some pause.